Two Nickels by Cris Skelton. You ever had a song written about you? I feel like it's one of those things that only happens in movies or romance novels or something. But of course, there are probably millions of people walking around the earth today who have songs out there about them. There are so many songs in the world, and only so many of them can be about drugs or Jesus or fighting for your right to party. Love is a big topic in songs. It's probably the thing that's been written about the most. How do you write about love if you haven't felt it, if you haven't had it, if you haven't lost it? In each of these scenarios, the song's gotta come from somewhere. So there must be millions of people, maybe billions of people alive today who have a song about them out there in the ether. There's probably someone in this room who's had a song written about them. I've had it happen to me twice, that I know of. It's like that Phineas and Ferb joke that's now become a meme. If I had a nickel for every time I've had a song written about me, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't much, but it seems strange that it's happened twice. There is roughly a 6-year gap between the release of the 2 songs that are about me. And even though that's a decently long gap between being a source of inspiration, they're oddly about the same thing, but from different ends. Let's go back to 2018. I'd been hired by an opera company to spend 2 months on a production in Taiwan. They were paying for my flight and putting me up in a nice hotel where I'd spend the late summer working as a puppeteer, background actor, and set mover in a production of Siegfried. For this once-in-a-lifetime gig, I decided to arrive in the country a week early so I could tour around and get a feel for the place. I ended up in a hostel in Taipei called The Meander. And it was just about everything you could ask for from the hostel experience. There were people from all over the world passing through on their own life's journeys. Some were on holiday, some were in the process of relocating, and some were digital nomads. But for me, the only person who ended up mattering was Claire. Claire was from England, London to be exact. She was in her mid-30s like me, so we connected as 2 of the olds in the young place. We started off talking in the lobby, discussing some of the day trip options and trading tips about places to eat. Then we started going on these travels together, and by we could feel ourselves falling for one another. Well, at least that was the energy I felt. I felt my pulse quickening when I saw her. I felt myself wanting to show her cool music. We talked about our jobs and our hopes for the future. We cheered each other on about our dreams. And one particular train ride back from seeing these interesting rock formations, she put her head down on my shoulder, and I felt a peace wash over me that I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Only problem was, I was about to get married.
Oh.
After this week and the 2 months in Taiwan, I was heading home to marry my girlfriend in the Texas Hill Country. We'd rented the chairs and tables, picked out the menu, reserved the houses, bought the dress. We'd even made arrangements for a honeymoon in Greece the following April. It was all the way planned, and it was going through, no question. So why the hell did I feel this way? How is it even possible for me to fall for someone like this? If I'm honest, this wasn't a run-of-the-mill little crush either. It was limerence. I hadn't felt the way I was feeling about Claire, well, since the day I met my soon-to-be wife. The only times I'd ever felt this kind of connection was with people I'd go on to be with for years and years. These feelings were life-changing. The kind that make you drop everything, come home, pack up your shit, and apply for a visa to live in England. Because if you skipped out on this feeling, you would spend the rest of your life wondering what if. So what was I supposed to do with this information? If I could feel this way, did it mean I wasn't in love with my fiancé? Or was this simply a combination of very predictable things? I'm on the other side of the world, on a grand adventure. I have normal anxiety about getting married, and here was a beautiful woman with intelligence, humor, drive, and the most incredible eyes. When I first committed myself to my fiancé, I started the habit of dropping her name in conversation early on, so no one would feel led on. So Claire knew about my wedding from the jump, and it was never on the table to explore these feelings. I got the feeling that she felt the same way I felt, but we never stated anything. It didn't seem like there was a point. Why would I blow up what I had back home to have a fling in a foreign country with someone who didn't even live in America, much less Houston. And besides, if we gave it a proper go, how could she ever feel secure in my ability to stay faithful if our story started out with me walking away from a marriage? At the end of my stay in the hostel, I said goodbye to Claire and took off to my opera job. I came home after 2 months of the most amazing months of my life and got married. Then that Christmas, Claire's band released a song on Spotify called A Bitter Cold Winter. And there was no denying that the song was about me. Some of the lyrics were lifted straight from my confessions to Claire about how worried I was about getting married. The song explored feelings of missed connection, but expressed gratitude for the moment in time that things felt exciting and easy. And the whole thing resolved in an agreement that, despite how intense things were in that moment, we were fated to only become a vague memory popping up on social media as we both headed off to the rest of our separate lives. The song wrecked me for a little bit. For months after our week in the hostel in Taiwan, I'd had a hard time reconciling the intensity of those feelings I had for Claire. This proved she had felt those things for me just as intensely as I had had for her. What did that mean? Eventually, I had to put it all out of my mind. After all, that was in the past and oceans away. I was married and had the rest of my life to constantly grow the love I had with my wife. And I was happy. 4 years passed. My wife and I went on our honeymoon. I went back to Taiwan for a second opera gig. Our old beagle died. A global pandemic happened. My wife opened a business. I got a job in corporate America. We got another dog. We moved into a proper house, and we traveled even more when things opened back up. I saw on Instagram that Claire had got married back in England and had a kid. She seemed happy. I felt happy. Life was doing its thing, just as Claire sang it would. Then 4 years, almost to the day of our wedding, my wife asked me for a divorce. In the months that followed, it came out that what happened to me in Taiwan had happened to her here in Houston. But rather than decide that the life she was building with me was more than this feeling for someone else, she chose the other option. In the interest of brevity, I won't go down the thought spiral of, is this karmic payback for my own emotional infidelity? And this just proves we weren't supposed to get married. And there is another timeline where I live in England with Claire, having jilted my fiancé at the altar. And maybe that's what should have happened. I can assure you it's been 2 years of pain since thinking about those and a million more stupid, unanswerable questions. But you got to keep moving forward, right? There was so much life left to live. So I owed it to myself to heal from all this and rebuild. And maybe this time I could try my life back wiser. With surer footing. And if I ever fell in love again, I could be extremely clear about who I am, what I want, and what I need in return, and what I'm getting into. In the middle of this process, I heavily relied on the emotional support of my friends. They called to check in, sit with me while I was catatonic in public, go to half price with me after I got out of a therapy session where I'd completely broken down. It cannot be overstated that I owe a debt that I can never repay to everyone who was there with me through this dark months. Every day, they saved my life. Many of my friends are musicians. Somehow, I feel a greater kinship with them, the kind of everyday openness that's harder to find in my own artistic fields. Maybe the most important person in all of these connections is Austin. I met Austin through an old ex-girlfriend. Ever since, we've been as close as brothers. When my dad died, he was one of the first to come through and give me a hug. All through my divorce, he texted to get me out of the house. He and his girlfriend Blair, another of my best, closest friends of many years, made sure I would never feel alone in all these wild life journeys post-divorce. And as a result, they were present and held space for a lot of my own processing. Then one evening, as I was preparing to go to a show to see Austin's band play, I got a text from him. "Hey man, just wanted you to know that I'm debuting a couple of new songs tonight. I hope you don't feel weird, but they're about you." I wanted to talk to you about it directly. I just haven't written anything so specific about a friend before, and I was overthinking how to bring it up. They're inspired by watching you go through it this past year. One of them is about existing in the angry, dark place of it all, and the other being a more positive coming out of the other side of it all. They come from a good place, and you were on my mind a lot when I started writing again recently. But please let me know if you're okay with it, and I'm happy to talk to you about them and share what I can so far if you want. Holy shit. That show was back in November 2023, and I've since heard the songs probably 10 or 12 times. This year, Austin finally went into the studio to record them as part of an EP, a mini concept album partly centered around these songs about the end of my marriage, but also as a part of a greater story. He's telling of having the bravery to keep working, to keep fighting for the life you want and the society you want to live in the hope that we as people will one day reach the Star Trek future that exists in our dreams. The EP is dropping in about a week as of this writing. I cannot wait to hear the finished product. I don't quite know what to make of the fact that I am the most artistically inspiring when I am doubting love and when I have had those doubts confirmed. The writer in me senses the parallelism, but can't really make anything out of it. But suffice to say, both times, the thing I've felt more than anything is gratitude. To listen to another person validate the way you feel, to know that the way you feel inspired art, it makes these things we go through in life feel worth it all. Maybe it's okay to have dark nights of the soul, to doubt yourself, to strive with hope in the direction of that ever-elusive moment of contentment, of happiness, of love. I hope you get to have a song written about you, even if it's about how awful you are. Hell, at least you made somebody feel something. The cosmic irony of "you're so vain, you probably think this song is about you," is that the vain person is correct to think so. Do your best to live a life that inspires others. Show up for them, be honest with them, be vulnerable. Speaking from personal experience, the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks.
Oh, damn. Now, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. This is a good one. Hey, it's me again. My friends are here, and that makes this situation 10,000 times better because now I can just be like, hey, I'm looking at you. Zone in and say, oh, yes. Yeah, no, you need those. Let's see. Damn. Yeah. That was a great story. Give me one of those. Give me one of those as I think for the next thing. Thank you. Thank you for love. My favorite part about knowing that my friend is here is that I expect a shot after this for little do y'all know, this is actually just one giant social experiment for myself. I'm trying to see how much I can put myself through before the existential crisis just really falls on top of me. Which really sucks because I'm fucking young. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. It's also I know this is so random. I'm going to plug my friend. She did my nails tonight. She did my nails the other night. Thank you. Don't look at my fucking toes. They're so ragged and nasty right now. Anyway, yes. See, just having your friends, that support. Now I feel great. Anyway, okay. This next story is, it's called Very Demure Vomiting. Very Demure. Anyway. Written by Blair Alt and read by Margaret Kelly. Come on, Miss Demure.